CVO 121. Just CVO 121.
Not for long though, right?
Not for long, nope. He's getting the full Monty.
The full Monty,
Full Monty.
dude. Greatest movie ever.
That's it. We all know what full Monty is. If we own one of these, we know what the full Monty is.
I love it.
135 impact, tune it, and he's flying out and rides some bitch home.
So this is the kit, box 1 of 2,
That's box 1 of 2.
and that comes with the.
Yeah, and I think, this bike's got I think this bike's got a pile of miles on it. Hang on, let me look. Oh yeah, okay, it's better. Here's for all you guys that say the pistons are bad. This gentleman's got 13,124 miles on a 121 VVT, and the VVT didn't fail, and my gosh, the pistons didn't fail either. Look, they even wore out. So, nevertheless, I'll make my statement again. Depends what ECU put in it. That's why we've probably seen so many broken ones. And we'll leave it at that.
Is that supposed to look like that?
Yeah, it's just age. That's from a guy that never pulls the throttle open and clean the carbon out.
Got it. So you like the stock Screaming Eagle, not stock, but the kit pump plate?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the only pump plate I would use in a Gen 1 or Gen 2.
And
This
then
is Screaming Eagle 1. Screaming Eagle allows more run out of the crank. Everybody else is at like 4 to 5 thousandths, and if your crank gets to 5 thousandths, you're buying a crank.
what do you mean run out?
Run out is where the crankshaft moves up and down. It's not totally straight. So like A1 Cycles builds a really good crank. Dark Horse builds a really good crank. They're straight. But then you're spending another, $4,000 to put a crank in it. So if you use the Screaming Eagle parts, they're designed to have more run out. And,
So it has more wiggle room to kind
has
of
more wiggle room.
move,
Have a little more twist in the crank.
Interesting.
We've not had any problem with twisting cranks. Maybe it's because we tune the bikes right and the bikes are smoother, so they're not straining between the two cylinders that's pushing the crank sideways. We just don't see that problem. The other thing that we see is all these guys are doing aftermarket pistons. They're too heavy for these bikes, and truthfully, unless you're putting a Dark Horse crank or an A1 Mike's A1 cranks in it, you're not getting H-beam rods. The difference is Screaming Eagle pistons are tapered. And a CP piston, which all those guys, nobody else makes the pistons except CP, JE, Wiseco. There's a couple other ones, but there basically is only like 2 or 3 guys that actually make pistons, and there's only 2 ring companies on the planet that make the rings for them. Well, a stock Harley crank has got tapered rods. So they're tapered on top. Well, when you put a CP piston in it, or you put a aftermarket, somebody's kit that they make, that they bought CPs or Wiseco's or whatever the hell they're using, they're designed for a square rod, a thicker rod, a rod that's the same size on the bottom as it is on top. So when you put those aftermarket pistons on, you're actually letting the piston pin have about 40% no surface area on it. It's just relying on the piston pin. Where when you use an H-beam rod with an aftermarket piston, just like as if you use a Screaming Eagle piston with a Screaming Eagle rod, the piston is tapered. The difference between a Screaming Eagle piston and a billet piston is a Screaming Eagle piston for like this bike is a forged piston, but it's a forged cast, which means that they forge it with all the chemicals in it that keep the piston from expanding and retracting so they can run tighter cylinder walls. When you run CPs and aftermarket pistons, you have to run more cylinder clearance so the bikes are noisier, or they have a knocking sound. And it's the same with cars and everything else. They have a knocking sound because we need extra clearance, because when it gets hot, the piston grows. Manufacturers like Chevrolet, Harley Davidson, all these guys, there's chemicals that are laid into these pistons that don't let them grow as fast or as big. So you can run tighter clearances. The motors don't rattle when you start them up. So if you listen to anything that's got big aftermarket pistons in them, they rattle. My boat's got CPs in it. A lot of my stuff has big CPs in it. They build probably the best quality part out there for an aftermarket. But in ways of making your motor quieter, lighter, use the OEM stuff, because they put chemicals in the piston that keep them from expanding. And then also with the tapered rod, you've got more surface area covering up the piston pin. So when you go to an H-beam rod, you can't put a Screaming Eagle piston on it. We'd have to machine it out to make it fit. But you use a CP with it. Just a word of people thinking when they don't know what they're actually looking at. Just a little something. Anyways.
So that's why you choose Screaming Eagle.
Yeah, because most of the guys, we use the stock rods in them.
And it all works really, really well.
It works really well. We got guys with 100,000 miles, 98,000 miles on 131. It just wore them out. We're just freshening them up. And I think more of the crank problem is coming from guys that don't tune correctly. They build an engine and they don't tune it, so each cylinder is firing the fuel. How do I explain this in layman's terms? It's not smooth. So you make one piston really smooth, you make the other piston really smooth, and the two VE tables and the two timing tables are different. So make them smooth, and I don't think you get as much twist in the cranks. So I think a lot of these guys are building these motors, they're dropping in their downloaded maps, which everybody knows I won't use, and I think they're dragging one side versus the other, and they're actually twisting the crank. It's just a theory. I couldn't prove any of it, but if you look at certain parts, certain things, yeah, there is certain parts that do better things. You can do more to them. You can run more timing on a CP because it is a billet piston, but actually the Screaming Eagle piston is a really good piston. Same with the camshaft. We had a guy come down from San Francisco who put some big Mazoo 598, ridiculous, whatever the hell it was. I could not tune it to make it streetable. It was a great drag race camshaft. Put the bike at 2,700, 3,000 with a line lock and let go. I could not make this thing run right. So we put the cam that comes in a 135 in his bike, and it picked up, what did it do? It picked up, it was only making 152 and 140 pounds of torque. Now it's making 159 and 155. And all I did was change the cam over to something that actually worked. And anybody that says I couldn't tune it, they can go for themselves. It was not a tunable street bike camshaft. You're right. I didn't even waste my time trying to get the wide open numbers to make numbers because the thing was so crappy from 0 to 27, 3,000 RPMs. Like, who the fuck wants that on a $100,000 motorcycle? By the time we're done with these things, we got $100,000 in them. So the kids that are bitching, they couldn't afford one of these anyways. So us old guys, it needs to run like a Honda and sound like a fucking Harley.
Yeah, and be reliable to
and
get
be
you
reliable.
to Daytona
And like,
and back.
I don't need to be rebuilding the damn. Yeah, right. The ones I build, leave here and drive to Florida, and they're still running around. And then they win dyno shootouts in Florida without my internet numbers. Anyways, this is a pretty legit build. This is how we do them.
Cool, man.